If you like this channel and what I do here, please help to support my work by checking out one of my books, available from Lulu Publishing and Amazon.com. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Rewatchable and Deep Space Nine.
Hi folks, Carl Jones here from Electric Media Madness, joined by Dan Ryan. How you doing, mate?
All right.
Good. I feel like I'm in a fishbowl today. I've got this new, because obviously we're doing things online for the time being due to various circumstances, and I needed to get a better camera, and this I can't adjust the settings, so I feel like I'm on Fish Island. So anyway, we're here to talk about Deep Space Nine again. This video has been a long time in we've been waiting for this one for so long, because as you will see in our previous discussions about Deep Space Nine, we've talked about the progression of the series, getting to certain points. You talked about whether you would have actually have stuck with the series. You'd also talked about, had it have not been for me saying to you, this is a good series, persevere with it. And you'd also mentioned about how I'd said, this is fantastic. And you was like, is he telling the truth? So we've reached that point. I've kept saying to you, be patient, it's coming. It's kind of been building to this for about 3 years. Certainly since the Jem'Hadar were introduced. If the Dominion comes here, the first battle will be fought here and all this kind. That was in the Jem'Hadar, wasn't it? And I intend to be ready for them. And they for one reason, some of it was obviously not wanting to deliver all of your good stuff in one go. All others was, as we've talked about, studio interference in season 4, push the Dominion story arc back in favour of Worf and the Klingons and that kind of thing. We've got 6 episodes we're going to talk about here. The first one is A Call to Arms, the season 5 finale. The other 5 episodes, and theoretically we should do the 6 at the beginning of season 6 here, but we're going to skip an episode. We're doing the first 2, which is A Time to Stand, Rocks and Shoals. Then we are skipping Sons and Daughters, so we're going to jump past that one, and we're doing Behind the Lines, Favour the Bold, and Sacrifice of Angels. So it's basically what would have been a 7-episode arc. We're going to do like the 6-episode arc. The Dominion occupation of Deep Space Nine, basically, that's the story. And it's also the start properly of the war between the Federation, Klingon Alliance, and all them guys, and the Dominion Cardassian Alliance. What did you think initially? Did you? So we're talking. Call to Arms basically is just they're coming to the station, and they talk about how they want to try and stop any Dominion reinforcements from coming through the wormhole. So they mine the entrance to the wormhole with self-replicating mines. That a clever idea. Yeah. What I did find out interesting was I was reading through my Deep Space Nine companion. The mines were actually composters, garden composters. that they used. But they went and brought them from a garden centre and then just photographed them. And so yeah, I thought that was brilliant. That was. And looking back on it now, I think they are garden composters, but. But yeah, it's a credit to the way Deep Space Nine was made that they were able to turn such simple things into space-age mines, They succeed. They cloak the mines as well so that the Dominion can't sort of pick them off at the mouth of the wormhole and all that kind of thing. And so they've been able to successfully prevent the Dominion from bringing any reinforcements in to the Alpha Quadrant. So this prompts Weyoun to turn up at the station. And he said, you remove those mines or we'll remove them for you, sort of thing. Yeah. And they do a bit of posturing, Sisko and Weyoun, and you think that it's all been disarmed and that nothing's going to come to it. And Sisko's like, no, I know the Dominion, they're coming. And they do. The fleet arrives at Deep Space Nine, and there's a big, massive battle, and they evacuate. They leave Deep Space Nine in the hands of Odo and Kira, and Quark to some degree as well. They take all the Starfleet personnel. And Garak goes with them as well because he knows clearly he's going to be in trouble if he stays there. Yeah. Dukat and Damar and Weyoun and all the rest of them, they strut onto the station. And it's this big moment, and Dukat has been waiting for this moment for 5 years. He's always wanted to see the Federation gone and the Cardassians back. We've had these moments in the series where he's been like, they've played him as a nice guy again. But he never really is. He's a nasty piece of work. He's an evil man. He's the prefect of Bajor and all that kind of thing. So what initially is that setup? What are your thoughts?
Well,
Let's go for it.
the whole episode is like the pacing throughout the whole episode. It's like it's building to something, but you're not really sure what. It's like
Which is something that happens quite often in Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
But it's like building big this time. Like they all know something really big's gonna happen, but you're not 100% sure what or
it's gonna be,
which way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Didn't go the way you'd think it'd go.
No, because I would imagine that you were thinking that maybe, it's a great big battle of Deep Space Nine with all the fleets and that, and then they'd beat the Dominion back, and then it would carry on from there.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, you have the battle, but they don't beat them. There's too many of them.
Yeah, I expected like a degree of plot armor. I guess no one like really died, so I guess that was there a little bit. I didn't expect.
But in terms
the
of everything
station
else,
to,
yeah. And we get a few extra whammies in there as well, like the fact that Jake is now a reporter for the Federation News Service, and he wants to sort of be where the stories are. So he decides to stay on the station.
Yeah. Didn't
Sisko
see that one coming, but
yeah, and Captain Sisko doesn't realise that his own son's still there.
And then at the end, he has to leave him behind. He's like, let's just go.
Can't go back for one man, Safely evacuated everybody else. Can't just go back for one, although it's his son. He's got to do the right thing. And Jake does say, the Dominion knows that I'm the emissary's son, and if anything happens to the emissary's son, because the emissary is like revered in Bajor, that their treaty that they've just signed with a non-aggression pact with Bajor won't be worth the pad it was written on, would it?
Well, that was another thing from this episode. You finally find out why he tries to stop them joining the Federation.
Yes, in Rapture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a while ago he stops that with all of his visions, but there we go. We see why now.
Yeah, he says Bajor must stand alone, and that's the reason why, because he knows full well that at this point now, if Bajor had have joined the Federation,
they've just been destroyed.
They'd have just been destroyed, yeah. So by the non-aggression pact keeps them safe to some degree, because we see that play out over the arc as well. Lots of interesting things happening here. We've got Rom and Lita finally tying the knot, albeit very, very briefly. I mean, Nog obviously goes off with the fleet because he's Starfleet, but Rom stays behind, and Rom is like a spy for the Federation. He gets his old job back at Quark's bar again. You get goodbyes between Garak and Zial. Zial decides to stay behind, and that was a nice touching little moment, because their relationship's been building for some time as well. Sad how that plays off when they're going to get back together again at that moment, because they never do, really, do they? No. Dax and Worf, Dax says, "I'll marry you." When this battle's over, we'll get married. It's what you've always wanted. So we also see the fact that the fleet. I mean, initially at the end of the episode, you think that the fleet, because you see the Defiant and General Martok's Bird of Prey heading towards.
Yeah, you think they're all going to go back and take it back.
Yeah, you think that's because they kind of fly towards it and then turn around and head back, and you think, oh, they're coming back with a big fleet, but that doesn't happen.
No, they're running away.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So you'd also mentioned about the tension between Kira and Odo. Do you want to run with that?
Well, yeah, there's, she finds out that he loves her beforehand, and they're kind of avoiding each other a bit. They don't really know what to say or do or anything. But then, like, under the circumstances of, like, them being left alone, they have no choice but to start just sort of acting like normal.
Yeah, because they do have a quick conversation, don't they, in Odo's office, and say, look, he says, I was going to ask you out for dinner, but I've decided that, at the moment we just need our heads clear on the job, and they both.
He doesn't exactly follow through with that.
No, he doesn't. Not in the next lot of episodes. No, that's right. Exactly. So, and then the only other thing that I wanted to mention here as well was the way in which Dukat swaggers onto the station, doesn't he? Onto the promenade. I mean, that moment is brilliant when the music as well, like dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 when they're like the Jem'Hadar things. I mean, they're ripping open the airlocks, aren't they? To come in and all that, wheeling the wheel across and all that. And they march through. Dukat's like, I've been waiting for this moment, because he sees like Odo, Kira, and Quark coming towards him, and they're like, "Welcome to Deep Space Nine." And don't you mean Terak Nor? Which is like the Cardassian name for the station. And he's like, "You, me, the Major, together again. Should be interesting, shouldn't it?" And he kind of just like pushes past her, doesn't he? On the like, there's loads of room for him to walk round her, and even to walk through it, pass through. But he kind of just like pushes his shoulder past her, doesn't he? And then you see Damar like going in the background, like it's like really smirking, isn't he? Like, you think a cocky git, you know. But they've got what they wanted, haven't they? They, you know, like he said in the episode, we've been waiting 5 years for this. But one of the interesting things as well was I love that line. Just before they arrive at the station, the Dominion fleet, Sisko's been doing this like Sisko program 179 or whatever. I can't remember what the number is. And you don't know what it is. He's like got this program prepped, hasn't he, to do something at the moment of truth. And then Kira like says, that's the last message this station's going to send out for a while, activate the program. And then all of a sudden Ops just like blows up.
All the computers blow up and everything.
And then she says, Dukat wanted the station back, he can have it now. Really good building there, ready, setting things up. I'm not so sure, which is, well, I mean, we can segue into the next one now, which is Time to Stand if you want to, because I was going to mention that I'm not so sure that it quite delivers on the potential. There's several things there. One is the fact that you think the station's not working at all, but it jumps forward in time, which I think it's like 2 months, something like that. It's quite a while, you know, certainly several weeks, but it's, I think if I remember rightly, it's a couple of months. The station's working fine again. And also, that last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you see the fleet thing from the end of the previous episode, and then it says, and now on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and you see the fleet again, but it's all been like battered and plasma leaks trailing behind the engines of the ships and all that, you know, and then you find out that there's been this big battle off screen at the like 100 and some odd ships, and like 93 of them were destroyed, you know, and there's only like 13 ships came back or whatever it was, you know, and Martok and Sisko and Bashir are like talking about it, and Bashir's like, how are we expected to win this war? You know, they're just beating us left, right and centre. They get this call to go to Starbase 375, and we get a new character introduced who pretty much is, we see him now on and off right through till the end of the series. He's Admiral Ross. Admiral Ross reassigns the crew of the Defiant. He pulls them off the Defiant. And he says, we've got a secret mission for you. We want you to like wipe out the main Ketracel White facility in Cardassian space, which is where the drug that keeps the Jem'Hadar alive and whatnot is made. And Sisko's like, well, how do you expect us to go in there? Like, even with if we're not using the Defiant with its cloaking device. And he says, you won't need that. We've got something better. And it's the Jem'Hadar ship from season 5 episode, the ship, the one that crashed on that planet and they reclaimed it. So you've got some like ongoing story arcs there with that. And so that's basically a Time to Stand is pretty much that story, isn't it? They're training on the ship. They go to Cardassian space. They destroy the Ketracel White facility, but something goes wrong with the bomb going off. And it damages the warp engines on the ship, and they're kind of just stranded in Dominion space at the end of the episode. I don't know if you just want to quickly run through the stuff that's going on the station at this point as well. There's not really a lot, is there? But it's just kind of...
It's just like them trying to like live on the station. It's difficult to, so they're just trying to cope with it, really.
It's mentioned about Sisko, Jake is trying to write his stories and they're not publishing them, and he says about freedom of the press. And Wayone's like, don't be so naive. You know? You keep calling this an occupation. It's not an occupation. Well, it is, but, you know. And he can't get any of his stories sent to the Federation. Odo's got no security force there. He's just sitting around twiddling his thumbs all the time. I think, is this the episode where Odo joins the ruling council?
Yeah, because he does that, so they'll bring a Bajoran security force in.
Forces on board, yeah.
I think that was this episode.
Because Kira says to him, you know, Wayoon thinks of you as like a god, founder, you know, founder, all this kind of thing. Yeah. Use that to your advantage. Go in there and say, I want my the deputies back and all that. And he does, doesn't he? He just marches in there and says, I want my... And he goes, anything you say, God. But Wayoon's being very wily, which is why they're diplomats and all that kind of thing. You can tell that with the water. Because he says, now that I've done something for you, you'll consent to do something for me.
And then he gets on his hands and knees and pulls his trousers down.
Basically, that's what Odo does, yeah. I mean, he downplays it to Kira, because Kira sees it for what it is straight away, doesn't she? Yeah. She's like, you're legitimising the occupation if you join the council. And he's like, no. He says, I can manipulate them. And softer hand and all this kind of thing. No, it doesn't play out that
No,
way at
no.
all, does it? So that's really all there is to say about A Time to Stand. Unless there's anything else you want to mention for that episode?
I mean, that's about it, really. It's just like mostly about sort of building up tension for what's going to happen next.
It is, yeah. Which brings us on to Rocks and Shoals. Do you want to run with this one? Because you really liked this episode, didn't you?
The one with Elijah Wood, but not actually
It
Elijah
wasn't
Wood.
Elijah Wood. That's weird, because you did a check, because the actor who plays Kevan, and it's Christopher Shea, is the actor that plays him. And you did a check on IMDb, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it said it was Elijah Wood.
You said it was Elijah Wood. I mean, aside from the fact that Elijah Wood would have been like a teenager, barely,
Yeah.
at that point in time. But,
Yeah, I don't think that Vorta was a pubescent boy.
they don't check these things very well, though, do they?
No.
They don't realise where they are,
Yeah.
and they don't realise there's like a group of Jem'Hadar that are stranded on the planet with their water leader. Eventually, they do realise that they're there. They start firing at them, don't they? Basically, they set up a deal, don't they? I'm running with the plot now. You should be doing this.
But yeah, they set up with a deal.
Yeah, with Kevan, the Vorta, who's dying, isn't he?
Yeah,
but they don't know how to
dying.
fix him. Yeah,
And he needs a doctor and that.
yeah.
But luckily they have a doctor. They do a trade and they give Garak and Nog back, and they get Sisko and Bashir.
Which is and they say that's a bad deal.
It's a
isn't it?
very bad deal, yeah.
But they do say that we'll let you go afterwards, don't they?
Yeah, which they do with a little something extra. They tell them that their heroin is about to run out, and
The heroin.
the heroin's
Catch yourself white for anybody who doesn't know what that means.
so yeah, the heroin's about to run out, and they've only got like a little bit left. So the not quite Elijah Wood, he's gonna send them out to attack, but through a place where they'll be easily trapped, basically.
Yeah, he basically gives them the plan of attack, doesn't he, so that they know how to
and he's
kill
like,
them.
you can beat them or get killed, and it goes. There's a few other smaller things going on, but like this is the main bit.
I mean, you've got Dax is wounded and she's like having to lie and rest, isn't she? So she's pretty much out this episode.
Jem'Hadar leader, he's like an independent thought and stuff, and he sees that there's like something a bit dodgy going on. They decide, well, you're not quite sure what they're actually gonna do, but then they all gather there. Sisko talks to the Jem'Hadar leader person.
Ramataclan, because I've got the book, the guidebook here. So that's the name of the character, yeah.
He talks with Sisko, and Sisko's like, okay, this is how it's going. You've been sold out. We don't have to do this, but the Jem'Hadar are like, yes, we do have to do this.
Because he gives them an opt-out, doesn't he? He says we can put you in stasis.
Yeah.
And until we're rescued, and I mean, how are they going to do that? Because there's no stasis pods on the planet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming what he's saying is, if you agree to a ceasefire, we'll send a transmission, get somebody to come and rescue us, and we'll put you in stasis at that point. He doesn't go for it, does he?
No. So Sisko goes back with this really depressed look. He puts the hand on the rock, and he's like, just fire. And then not quite Elijah Wood comes out at the end.
Yeah,
like,
he just comes
I
walking
surrender.
out smirking and all that, And that character does actually come back for another episode in The Magnificent Ferengi. It's a good, interesting character, actually. He's very slimy and devious, isn't he? They all are in this episode. Ramataclan as well, The acting is brilliant in this episode.
It is, yeah.
That scene where they're firing on them,
Yeah.
the cinematography. I mean, the location work helps as well to sell it, but... they do it like kind of in slow motion, don't they, when they've got the phaser rifles and that, and you see them all and you think, well, it was a pointless, death. They could have easily that situation could have been resolved much more amicably.
I mean, they were kind of forced to kill them because, I mean, if they just stunned them and left them, like when they woke up, they'd have killed each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So they literally had to kill them, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they'd have either killed each other or they'd have killed the Starfleet, or if they hadn't already left at that point. But he does present a viable option. We can get you off the planet, and they're like, victory is life, and all this kind of thing. And it's a great episode. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, definitely.
On the station, we've got some interesting developments now because Kira's walking through ops, like Good morning, Mavak, and all that. And then she suddenly just comes to this realization that, well, she's she's kind of justifying it at first, isn't she? Sort of saying, there's nothing we can do about this occupation. We've just got to try the best we can. Odo's like, I'm so close to these people that, I've got to be careful what I do as well. This Bajoran Vedic turns up at the station, Vedic Yazim, and she's like, what are you going to do about the occupation? What are you going to do to protest it? And Kira's like, well, nothing. There's nothing we can do. We've got to, Sisko said, Bajor, the emissary said, Bajor must be kept out of the fighting. And she says, it was like the occupation before, the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. We've got to do something. We've got to, And then they find out that there's going to be like this protest rally on the promenade or something like that. And because Jake's doing like a story, and she asks Odo and Kira, are you going to go to this rally thing? Yeah. And they're like, what rally? And they turn up, and they see Yazim standing on the promenade balcony, and she goes, evil must be opposed. And then she jumps off, and she's got a rope round her neck. Yeah. And she just hangs herself. It's a really dark moment.
You're just like,
Star Trek.
Shit, okay.
I mean, not talking about the darkness of Star Trek today, but certainly for back then.
Nah, beheading really... babies for fun now.
Oh yeah, just fun, and gouging people's eyes out and etc. And Klingon R to the A to the P to the E and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really quite a dark moment. This Vadic kills herself basically, just to she's becoming like a martyr, like a symbol for what Say what you will about it. I'm not advocating it. I'm not condoning that kind of thing, whether it's real or fictional or what. But it does seem to kick a light bulb on above Kira's head. Yeah. Because it's like I was a terrorist basically. She was a freedom fighter. I would say a resistance fighter. But they could, and they basically helped to drive Cardassia away from Bajor. And now she's just, she says I'm a collaborator. She actually says it in the episode, doesn't she? Yeah. She says, I'm a collaborator. There's no other word for it. And she walked around Ops looking at them and thinking, these are the people that we were fighting. It's not like we're even friends with them now. They've actually come back. They are. It's effectively an occupation. Yeah. So she decides to start a resistance cell. Odo reluctantly goes along with it. Yeah. He's not happy about it. You can tell he's not happy about it. But he does go, and because she has this conversation with Odo and says, look, I need you to be on my side. How that's going to play out, yeah. But unless there's anything else you wanted to say about that, we can go to the next episode, because that's what that's about. Yeah. In the next episode. Behind the lines.
A lot of this episode is, Sisko, it gets pulled off the Defiant and gets promoted to...
He's the adjutant, isn't he, for Admiral Ross? Yeah.
Yeah. So and the Defiant gets sent on a mission, and like quite a bit, you're just sort of seeing him struggle to come to terms with the fact that this isn't his mission.
Yeah. They send Dax in charge, don't they?
Yeah. Female changeling turns up and essentially turns Odo into a bit of a hippie.
Yeah. He just doesn't seem to give a shit anymore, does he?
No, she starts like merging with him, and he just stops caring about everything else. He's just like, you solids, sort of, and like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's what he always wanted, to be with his people. Yeah. But he actually says, I won't, I can't agree with you what you're doing, the war and all that. Yeah. But as soon as she shapeshifts with him a few times, it just doesn't seem to matter to him what's going on.
No, you get his little climax face, and then it's like,
that one bit of Night of Jolly for him has a lot of repercussions, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he shacks her and all.
yeah, because elsewhere in the episode, I mean, the shit's really hitting the fan now, because they're basically a week away from bringing down the minefield, aren't they?
Yeah,
and Damar says, I've got a way of doing it, and so Kira and Rom are like, we've got to find a way to stop this from happening, so we're going to sabotage the emitter that does it. And they make this plan. Odo's part of the plan, but
he's too busy going there.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. Yeah. Rom gets arrested, caught in the act, and trying to sabotage it, and he's like chucked in a cell, and they're gonna execute him. Yeah. And fortunately, wasn't found in the vicinity of what was going on, even though she was a part of the plan. She goes to Odo. It's like she's bang, bang on the keypad on the door. We talked about Kira being rewritten in season 4 and all that.
Yeah.
God, she's well and truly back with her mojo now, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, I'm very glad, yeah.
And she's like, where the hell were you? You know, and it's like, we were counting on you. We need her. And he's like, didn't care. It doesn't
Fuck off,
matter.
solid.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah. And she's like, everything we've been through, everything that we, you know, all that, you know, our friendship, you know, and the love element as well. And he's like, didn't matter. Don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, don't care. So, and that's kind of where that episode ends, really, doesn't it? Because isn't that the scene where the female changeling says to him, did she upset you, Odo? Or something? And he's like, no, not really.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah. So she's done a number on him, good and proper. I mean, you know, with the CIA and all the rest of them back in the day when they used to do like the honey pot traps. You know, the lady of the night that would like tempt you away from your mission and that. I mean, he'd make a piss poor agent, wouldn't he? A little bit of honey for Odo and he's away. He's gone. He doesn't care. He gives away all of his secrets and everything. This is the plan for this. This is the plan for that.
Just take it all. Take it all.
Yeah. Just to get his jollies on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did feel that it was kind of a betrayal of the build-up of the character over 5 years, 6 years, because he's always been like, they talk about him being that thin beige line between order and chaos, you know, and now he just doesn't seem to, you know.
It felt like, I don't know, it just felt a bit weird, like it happened too easily.
But the only way I can sort of say, yes, it kind of does work is by saying, you know, when he's being tortured by Garak in season 3, what do you really? And it was home. I want to go home to my people, the Great Ring. So really, that's all he wants, isn't it? Apart from Kira, but he hasn't got Kira.
No,
you know, he hasn't got Kira in the way he wants Kira. So yeah, he sells out. You know, that's basically the episode. So then we jump to the last 2 episodes, Favour the Bold and Sacrifice and Angels, which are effectively a 2-parter. They do a to be continued at the end of episode 5 into 6. Favour the Bold is they get a message out to Sisko through Morn going home to take a present to his mom or something like that. Yeah. And this secret message to Sisko saying the minefield's coming down in a week or something like that. You know, you've got to do something about it now. So Sisko puts the plan on the table, doesn't he? We need to retake Deep Space Nine. We need to get the fleets together. And they're like, resources are short. We can only commit these amount of fleets to it. We need a lot of ships. And he says to Worf and Martok, can you convince Chancellor Gowron to send some ships? And they're like, we don't know. We're just not sure with Gowron at the moment. We'll go and we'll do what we can. They put the fleet together. And that's basically this episode, isn't it? It's just they're like assembling the fleet, making the plan for that. And then back on the station, you've got all kinds of things going on. You've got... they're putting like the resistance cell, the last elite there now, and Zial's back from Bajor.
Quark in the resistance as well, though.
Yeah, but it kind of nothing really happens until the last one. But really, it's all just about they're going to execute Rom, and we need to do something about it. They're going to bring the minefield down. We need to do something about it. So they succeed in one regard because they do get the message out to Sisko, but the Rom thing is still pending for the next episode. And the episode ends with the fleets sort of there, you know. They're heading up towards the Dominion fleet. And the Klingons haven't turned up, so they don't. And they're like, we've got what we've got. We're going to have to just go for it. And Sisko's like, fortune favours the bold. Well, we'll have to find out how true that is then, won't we?
Yeah.
And it's got it to be continued.
And that's the easiest next episode I've ever pressed on Netflix.
Yes, Sacrifice of Angels. Go on, you run with this one because I've been yabbing on, and
This one has, well, it starts off with the battle really, and Sisko's like, right, we can. All they need to do is get ships to the other side, basically.
Yeah, so they're gonna make a hole in the fleet, even though space is like, you know, you could go around it.
Just go down
because the fleet's not blocking out the entirety of space. It's only like 1,200 ships or whatever it is, or 2,000 ships or whatever. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how many.
I mean, they could have just gone down like
they
that.
They could have gone down underneath
straight.
it. And gone, yeah. But anyway, we'll ignore the geometry of space.
Yeah.
in real terms, but for the episode, they've got to make a hole through it.
Yeah. So Sisko's like, okay, we think we can draw them from the edge, and that'll give us enough to break through.
Yeah,
however,
make a hole in the middle.
They see through the plan, and they're like, oh, just send them after them anyway, destroy them. Just
like they keep sending waves of Cardassian ships, don't they? And they comment on the fact that the Jem'Hadar ships are just sitting there doing nothing as well.
Yeah.
And they, I can't remember. Somebody said, "Oh, it's a trap," and Bashir says, "Yeah, it is. I've worked it all out in my genetically engineered brain. It is a trap."
Yeah.
And Sisko's like, "Well, we've just got to go for it. It's the only way we're going to do it. We've got to play into their hand."
So they all just basically charge.
Yeah, charge in.
Yeah.
and it is an incredible piece of special effects work. I've talked about this I've alluded to this before in previous episodes. The battle is there is a better one. There are a couple of better ones actually coming up, but especially in the Changing Face of Evil in season 7, just incredible. But this is like really up there with those memorable moments in science fiction in terms of special effects work. Again, I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of militaristic storylines in anything. I'm very much against that kind of. I'm a peaceful, pacifistic type person in my thinking. But I do like the technology. I do like to see the technology, what it does, the special effects work, all that. I'm fascinated with all of that. And there is something to this spectacle of the way the ships, like when you've got the Defiant flying through and it's being flanked by the other two little Reliant class ships, whatever they are, Miranda class, I can't remember the class ships. And then you just see the Galaxy class, the Enterprise type one. It's not the Enterprise, but you just see it kind of looming up, and it just fills the whole screen, doesn't it, as it comes up the side, and it just fires a few phasers at these the Garak class ship, the Cardassian ship, and then you see the little fighters zooming through and all that, and it's just fantastic. It's a fantastic bit, and not even there. I mean, it's like you think that they're losing, you think that they're not going to do it, and then like all of a sudden you see these like green weapons fire just coming. And the shot for that is fantastic. It gives me goosebumps even. You see these Vulture class ships and Klingon Bird of Prey. They're just like wow, coming in all that. And they go, the Klingons have arrived, and Garak goes, and Worf, and he's like, Gowron was an arsehole. He wouldn't let us take many ships, but we brought what we could. And Sisko's like, I'll take it. Let's go. And they just do. They go through. They just walk through the Bird of Prey. They really hold their own. They go in there and they basically flank the Defiant, don't they? Yeah. To help the Defiant get through, and it's the only ship that makes it through at that point in time, doesn't it?
But there's so much else going on as well.
Oh yeah, I mean that's only one little part of this episode. I mean there's that much going on. I mean go on if you want to.
I mean you've got like you see Dukat and everything. He's watching over the battle. He's declared victory basically. He's like,
he's already said it.
This is an easy win.
Yeah.
And then you've also got them trying to break Rom out, and you get a
and
really,
sabotage the emitter as well, so they can stop the minefield. From
do anything to try and sabotage the station, basically.
Yeah.
And you get a really good scene where Quark has to kill someone.
Yeah, I mean Quark's a hero.
Yeah,
it all hangs.
Like, huh?
Actually, if you think about this, Quark saves everything in this episode, because my logic is it's like this, right? If Quark hadn't have done what he'd done, Rom wouldn't have got out of the cell. Yeah. And even though Rom fails to deactivate the emitter, because they do take the minefield down,
he deactivates the weapons.
It just turns the weapons off on the station. So when the Defiant comes back through the wormhole, which I'm jumping the gun, but it would have got blown up. So everybody would have died. But Quark, effectively, by his actions, saves everybody.
So Quark saved the entire quadrant.
Basically. Yeah. And you've got Zial as well, because Damar is like, your daughter's a traitor to Dukat, and Dukat's like, she's a daughter of Cardassia. She might mean nothing to you, but she means everything to me. She's my daughter, and she has betrayed them as well, because she helped Quark break into the cell, and
as well, because the rest of them got arrested.
That's right.
To stop anyone from sabotaging it. Yeah, so he's basically the only one left who can do anything.
What's interesting is Odo's kind of like he's in with the female changeling now. You know, that's what
they've
it
had
is.
some bum fun.
And Kira does go to him. She catches a moment when she gets him on his own.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't give a shit, so I don't give a shit. And it kind of, I can't remember precisely what she says, but something's kind of set some alarm bells off in Odo's head, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because he kind of, the next thing, they're being pursued through the station, Kira and Rom, and they get trapped in a cargo bay, and they hear these weapons fire, and Rom's like, that's Bajoran phasers. And it's Odo and his security forces, and he's come to save the day. Basically, he's come to help them. So I mean, he's a bit late, but yeah, I mean, Odo doesn't really do much. He kind of sweeps in at the last minute. He does save Kira and Rom's life, but in doing what he does, and she says to him, "Why?" And he says, we'll have to talk about that another time," which they do in the wedding episode of. Worf and Dax. They have a little conversation about that sort of stuff, but it's kind of left there for now. But we'll talk about the Defiant. So they get to Deep Space Nine.
They see the minefield is down. They couldn't stop the minefield getting taken down, so they go straight past the station. Yeah. And that one ship, the Defiant alone, just goes straight into the wormhole. Yeah. Yeah. And you see this huge fleet in front of them.
Yeah.
And they're just like
to make their way through.
They're just like, fire. There's literally nothing else we can do. Just fire on them. Just
fire everything we've got. Yeah.
And then surprisingly, out of nowhere, the prophets are like, "Yo, what are you doing?"
Yeah, they just like take Sisko out of his like into their realm.
They're just like, "Yo, you need to like not die here. You need to stay alive."
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're saying they have no interest in what's going on. And he says, like, you're Bajoran, aren't you? Save them.
You allowed them to make you into their gods, and you gave them orbs, and they built an entire religion around you. You owe them something, Yeah.
So they just sort of throw Sisko back without really saying much, and then suddenly all the ships disappear.
Yeah. And they're like, are they cloaked? We didn't know they had cloaking devices. No, and they're like, no, there's no neutrino emissions or anything,
It's like they're like, where have they gone? Are they like transported? Are they dead?
Yeah. And it turns out that they are basically, because the prophets just wiped them out.
Yeah,
just got rid of them, saved the day.
Yeah,
saved the Alpha Quadrant. So then the Defiant goes out the wormhole, comes back in, comes back through.
Dukat, and he's like, shit.
He's like, oh, the Defiants, they must have come back through. The fleet's right behind them. Any minute now.
Yeah.
They'll be coming through now. Right now.
Yeah.
Well, where are they? And then the Defiant starts firing on the station. And then they get a message. The Federation's broken through our fleet lines. Yeah. They're on their way here to Deep Space Nine now. Shit, we've got to evacuate.
So they all just flee.
Yeah.
Dukat, he goes to look for Ziel. He finds her. They're having a little heart-to-heart thing.
Yeah. Because he says, "Come with me," and she says, "No, I'm not. I'm not coming with you."
And suddenly, you see a little phaser fire.
Yeah.
And she's been killed, basically.
Yeah. Because what that's about is that Dukat said, she says, "Father, I helped Rom and Kira and the others to escape," and he's like, "It doesn't matter. I love you," all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Dumar
is the one you're a traitor.
You're a traitor, so he killed her.
Dukat just
loses it.
He loses it, really. He stays there as the rest of them flee, and he's just broken completely. He's
sitting there in the holding cell, and he's holding Sisko's baseball, which Sisko left behind at the end of the first A Call to Arms. And he says, "This is a message from Sisko telling me he'll be back," sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he goes, I forgive you, Zial. We'll be together and all this. He's like lost the plot completely.
He's like, scared. I forgive you too, Sisko.
And he's like, I forgive you too. And he gives him the baseball.
Yeah.
And Sisko's like looking at him. In that case, well, at least he's giving him a baseball back. So
yeah.
And that's kind of where it ends. I mean, they get onto the station, and you see the reunions of like Quark opens up the holosuites for Bashir and O'Brien, and Jake and his dad finally, get back together, having seen each other for so long. Dax and Worf finally have a hug. They've been apart for a while. And Garak, you see Garak, and it's really quite sad because you see Garak, he's looking around for Zial, isn't he? And he's smiling and that. Where's Zial? And she's dead,
Yeah.
He goes in and where the body is. And Kira says, like, she loved you. And he says, and I never really could tell why,
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it ends, It's really quite sad, actually, as an ending. But they're all back. They're back. That's the story. They're back for. I mean, the wars. Deep Space Nine becomes the fleet headquarters for the entire sector in the next episode, and that's the wars raging on. But for now, Bajor's safe again. Deep Space Nine is safe. Everybody's back where they belong, for the time being, anyway. And that's where we kind of leave it. So, any overall thoughts that you wanted to talk about?
This is the best it's been for a while. Well, this is the best it has been.
It's been building to this, hasn't it? I mean, there's been I still say there's been some great moments. The two-parter from season 5, Purgatory Shadowed by Inferno, is like, that's a great two-parter.
That's great as well, yeah.
The two-parter in season 3 with when the Romulans and the Cardassians attack the Founders' homeworld, when we meet the Founders for the first time, the Search, the Jem'Hadar. There's these really great moments, but this is the big whammy, isn't it? This is the it's all been leading to this. To some degree, it's a fantastic story arc. It really is. And finally, the studio letting them off the leash a little bit and letting them say, right, go story arc now. I mean, they only give them like 7 or 8 episodes at this point, and then it kind of goes back to being sort of semi-story arc again, at least until the last half of season 7, where it just becomes all season story arc. Can't say enough good things about this story arc. It's got a clunker in there, which is why we didn't review it. Sons and Daughters, nothing really happens. It's just a meh episode. It's not particularly a bad episode. It's just boring. It's just not really. It's Worf's son Alexander comes on the Klingon ship, and Zial goes back to the station. So it's plonked right back in the middle of there. But you don't really see anything about Sisko and what's going on with him. You don't see anything much about what's going on with the Resistance cell. Even on Deep Space Nine, even that kind of takes a back seat to have just Kira meeting back up with Zial again, and Zial wants Kira and Dukat to be friends and get on with each other, a bit like she did in that previous, but nothing really comes of it. So unless there's anything else you wanted to say about it, I mean, we've dissected the plots and talked about so if we rate them, and then we can just mention any little things that we really thought stand out. A call to arms.
Easy 10.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in this, and all of it's interesting, and you get in like proper development for everyone still. You get in so much stuff. You get you properly see Deep Space Nine in like full action, like full, like it's fully kitted out with weapons now. And it's good shit.
Yeah, it's a 10 for me as well. I mean, I like the nice little quiet things as well, like Sisko when he says, this is my home and you're my family, to like the people of Bajor. Yeah. This is where he's finally realising that. And he says, I won't rest until I'm back here again. Yeah. And this place where I belong, kind of thing, So got some lovely little moments like that as well. I love the confrontation between him and Weyoun, where he says, like, we'll take this station from you. And he goes, well, let me be equally as blunt. The mines stay. Yeah. And I will not allow you to remove them. And Weyoun's brilliant as well. Jeffrey Combs is fantastic here because he goes, you will not allow? And he goes, you heard me. Sisko at his best there. Absolutely at his best. You might be the head, one of the leaders of the Dominion, but, I can stand my ground as good as the best man, the next man. So, yeah, really good. So, unless there's anything else, I mean, there's so much. The battle, the stories, where they go. That moment where Dukat struts onto the station, I mentioned that already. It's an easy 10, you're right.
Yeah.
So, A Time to Stand, the first episode of this is the one with the prepping the Jem'Hadar ship, life on the station.
There's a lot going on in this one as well. It's not like what was happening in the previous episode, but it's like... No. Like, there's been a time jump. It's establishing where everyone is, like them adapting to the new situation, and that sort of stuff. Like, in that aspect, there's a lot that's happened and going on. Yeah,
it's moving things forward, but I feel like it's kind of a holding episode, a holding pattern between the last one and the next one. and everything that's to come. So for me, it's actually the weakest one of the 6 that we've reviewed. I think the weakest one is Sons and Daughters, but this would be the next weakest one. It kind of disappoints in that it doesn't deliver on the promise at the end of Call to Arms, but that doesn't mean to say it's a bad episode by any means. It's just like it's putting all the pieces in place ready, isn't it? So it's putting everything, which Deep Space Nine is very good at doing that. You have something massive happens, and then they kind of rearrange all the pieces, and they spend an awful lot of time just moving things, putting them, setting them up ready for the next big thing. But obviously, because this arc is so close together, they really only had one episode to move everything ready for the next bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
So this was the episode. So I'm going to give a time to stand an 8.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. What about you?
I really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed like the tension and that as well. Like when they're going in Jem'Hadar space with a Jem'Hadar ship. Like if they find out it's them, that like that's it. It's instantly over.
There's some great moments like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'll give this one a 9. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed this one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. As we've been working, I've been kind of thinking about what I would score these, and I've been right up to the last minute. I was changing things slightly because I did initially think a 7 for this one, but then I thought no, I'm being a bit unfair on this one because I remembered like the banter on the bridge on the Jem'Hadar ship between them when that Starfleet ship attacks them, and they're like, our own people are firing on us, kind of thing, you know. Like, it seems that the stuff with the bomb going off, it's never really quite explained what happened there, why that didn't work, that plan, but clearly something went awry. But it's good that it did, you know, because so I'm sticking with my 8. So Rocks and Shoals.
This one was really good. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, this is a fantastic episode.
So there's like it's quite separated, but all of the characters in this, like you get a lot from them.
Oh yeah.
So at first I put a 10 down, then I put a 9 down, then I put a 10 down, then I put a 9. I think I'm just gonna go 9.5 because I can't decide.
Yeah, and it's weird how you and I often do that. I had the same problem. I thought, I don't think this is quite a 10, but it's better than a 9, so I'm going to go 9.5 as well. Yeah. There's so much good stuff. I love the stuff on the station with Kira and Odo, and the evil must be opposed. And I mean, that's really dark and haunting. That it's really hits home what you know. The stuff with the Kivan and the Jem'Hadar and that, the way he sells them out. The thoughtfulness of Ramataclan and all that kind of thing as well. There's very little wrong with this episode. It's almost flawless. But if you compare it to the big tens, it's not quite there. So 9.5. So we're on to now Behind the Lines. So this is where largely this episode is Sisko being promoted, Dax being sent off on a mission to command the Defiant, and the female changeling coming and brainwashing, doing an MK Ultra job on Odo. So. That's pretty much it for this episode. And obviously at the end you get Rom trying to destroy the emitter and getting arrested for failing, getting arrested. So that's really it. So what did you think of this one, rating wise?
I think for me, I think this was probably my least favourite of the lot. I gave this one an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to give this an 8 as well. Yeah. It's good. I love the stuff with Odo and the female shapeshifter. It's as creepy and weird as it is, and as much as we joked about, just give him a honeypot trap and he'll go for it, you know. But it's still great to see the whole Kira Odo thing unraveling, beginning to unravel anyway, you know. Which leads us into Favour the Bold.
This one I preferred a bit more to Behind the Lines, so I gave this one 8.5.
Yeah, I'm the same, 8.5. Yeah. It's kind of moving things incrementally now, isn't it? It's just like you see the repercussions of the Odo stuff, you see the repercussions of them finding out that the minefield's coming down and getting the fleet together. I don't think much to say about that one other than that. So 8.5 we said for that one? Yeah. We're pretty much matching each other with this, aren't we? Yeah. And I think I know what our score is going to be for Sacrifice of Angels as well. Yes,
this is my favourite episode of Deep Space Nine so far that I have seen. Easy 10. Easy.
Yeah. It's actually not my favourite of them so far. Unfortunately, there are some episodes, because we've been racing through the story arc, there's some episodes you haven't seen which are 10s. and I think they're better episodes than this
Yeah.
one. But in terms of the big arc of the series, character development, where everything's going, even Sisko's development now, because he's moving much closer to that destiny of emissary, isn't he now? With the fact of what the prophets do for him here, manages to basically talk them into saving Bajor, and so it's a 10. Yeah, it's an easy 10.
But yeah, we are we have been skipping a lot. I mean, that's it for my Deep Space Nine. So
yeah, it's probably about maybe a quarter to a third of the show.
Yeah,
that you've actually watched. Probably a little bit more than that, but yeah. Moving into the half territory, but we've still got a lot that we're.
Yeah.
I mean, for the purposes of talking about what we're talking about, we've had to do this. But you have said you are going to go back and rewatch stuff.
Yeah,
afterwards.
I feel like I'm missing out on quite a lot of extra
and
things
we're
that
all-
I'll get after.
Yeah, we're going to do some reviews of those missing episodes. We're going to do Rejoined, The Visitor, Trials and Tribulations as well. We're gonna watch these episodes, and we are going to review them. In what format we're going to do them, I don't know yet. I think we're going to do some mixed episodes from different Star Trek series, and like some time travel ones and some things like that. So that's all some crossover episodes we're doing, like Scotty Relics, and so Trials and Tribulations will obviously be within them. So Blood Oath as well is another one with the 3 Klingons from the original series. So I think that's it really for now. It was a great rewatch. It really was. I do. It doesn't take much to make me rewatch these episodes anyway, but it was nice being able to watch them with somebody else who's not seen them before and watching them for the first time, and generally coming to the same conclusion that Deep Space Nine is a great show. It really is. So unless there's anything else you want to say, we'll leave things there for now. And we'll just say thank you so much for joining Dan and I again for Rewatchable. And if you do like this video, please click the like button, share it about if you can. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so as well. We truly, truly appreciate it. And we appreciate all the support that everybody's given us so far already. And for now, we'll say take care. Both of us will see you again very, very soon.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye.